The Sarah Jane Adventures Invasion of the Bane, the first episode, and the 2007 New Year's special, is written by Russell T Davies and Gareth Roberts, and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Alexandra Armstrong, Portia Lawrence Mavor, and John Leeson. Back in 2006, Children's BBC have been wanting to do a Doctor Who spin-off. It was going to be Young Doctor Who, and it was going to be about a 14-year-old doctor who lives on Gallifrey, builds a sonic screwdriver, and interested in the universe. But Russell T Davies didn't want that because the mysteries would have been destroyed. So instead he did a series focusing on Sarah Jane Smith, a companion who appeared in Doctor Who along with John Pertwee and Tom Baker, the third and the fourth Doctor.
Dr. John Smith. How do you do, Miss Smith?
Hello?
I'm a Time Lord.
Oh, I know you're a Time Lord.
You don't understand the implications. I'm not a human being. I walk in eternity.
Only one episode of K9 and Company, which is where Sarah Jane meets K9 the first time.
Where are you from, K9?
From the doctor.
From the Doctor?
Affirmative.
Oh, you can't mean the Doctor.
Then she came back to the 20th anniversary in the Five Doctors.
Yes, it was really nice meeting you.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. It's nice meeting you too.
What?
I'll explain later.
After a while, Sladen decided to stop acting to raise her family. Then she came back as Sarah Jane for a school reunion with David Tennant as the Doctor.
Hello, Sarah Jane.
It's you. Oh, Doctor.
Sarah Jane Smith has been the most popular companion by both Doctor Who fans and members of the general public. So this episode begins with Sarah Jane's narration when she explains that she used to travel with the Doctor, which is a great opening. So we have Maria Jackson, played by Yasmin Page. Maria moves in Bannerman Road with her dad Alan Jackson after him and her mum, Chrissy, got divorced. She teams up with Sarah Jane Smith. We have Luke Smith, who's an artificially created human and a genius, played by Tommy Knight. Kelsey Hopper, who became friends with Maria after when her and her dad moved into Bannerman Road, and she's played by Portia Lawrence Mavor. She only appeared in this episode because I think she received poor reception, which actually bothered me. That's the reason why she's replaced by Clyde Langer. I think the cast's are great in the role. I love the scene where Sarah Jane is having a conversation with a Catenian called Starpoint, with a nice beautiful song and a design. And yeah, our Catenian previously appeared in Torchwood from the episode Greeks Bearing Gifts, when it possessed Mary. After when Sarah Jane rudely saying hi to Maria and just walks back in her house, Kelsey and Maria went into the bus to the factory where they invented a fizzy drink called Bubble Shock. And it looks tasty. Gareth Roberts used that idea of name Bubble Shock from his novel The Highest Science for inspiration of Bubble Shock.
Yep, you have got to try Bubble Shock. It's simply delicious.
Drink it.
With space between, which is interesting. So Sarah Jane interviewed Mrs. Wormwood about the drinks, while Kelsey wanders off to phone her friend, and that disturbs the Bane mother, which is why no one is allowed to use phones in the factory. Setting the alarm has caused the archetype or Luke Smith to wake up, escape and meet Maria. So they hide in a girl's toilet, so Sarah Jane Smith discovered that and took them back to Bannerman Road. Sarah was being harsh to Maria, saying that she should stay away as her life is dangerous, and yeah, Maria got upset. I enjoyed a lot of scenes in the factory. It is fun and blast to watch. Meanwhile, Kelsey gets questioned by Mrs. Wormwood and Davy. I loved the bit when Kelsey referenced Jeremy Kyle's show when she pointed out that Davy mentions that Bane on the ceiling is his mum. Brilliant. So they put Kelsey to sleep, make her forget, and Davy decides to drop her back to Bannerman Road. But when he discovers where Sarah Jane Smith lives, he gets into his true form. It's a nice piece of design. After when Sarah Jane lets Kelsey and Maria in and decides to go into the attic, Sarah Jane tells them about the aliens and her travels with the Doctor, and I think it's nice. I like it when they've got loads of photos of the classic era, including a photo of herself with K9 from K9 and Company. I liked Mr. Smith, a talking computer who's a Zylok, and voiced by Alexander Armstrong, who's the presenter of the game show called Pointless.
You make him a big plate of spaghetti tonight.
I think Mr. Smith is really cool. K9 is in the safe where the black hole is. The reason why they did that because of the rights for K9 to appear in the series were not secured. So that's why he often has a cameo.
Bye-bye, K9. Good dog.
Affection noted, mistress.
So yeah, everyone who drank Bubble Shock were possessed, including Kelsey and Alan, Maria's dad, as they walk around carrying an open bottle saying drink it like zombies.
Drink it. Drink it.
Please
Drink it. Drink it.
So Sarah Jane, Maria and Luke went down to the factory. I like the scene where Sarah Jane drives the bus into a wall. So the only way to destroy Bane's mother is using phones, which is interesting weakness.
05-5, calling a Bane!
So Sarah Jane, Maria and Luke escapes and the factory is blown up. And people with Bubble Shock drinks are unpossessed. I think these three made a great teamwork. Maria's mum was rude when she wants Sarah Jane and Luke to get out and wondering what Luke was wearing. I was like, come on, there's no need for that. In the end, Sarah Jane agrees to adopt Luke as her son. First, Sarah Jane was going to call him Harry, then Alistair, naming after Harry Sullivan and Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. But everyone agreed to call him Luke, which is what Sarah Jane wanted to name her child, if she ever had one.
Luke?
I like Luke.
I like Luke.
If you like Luke, I like Luke.
So yeah, I think it's a great start. The show, Sarah Jane Adventures, is my favourite Doctor Who spin-off. And of course I like Torchwood and the rest. What do you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. The Sarah Jane Adventures Revenge of the Slitheen, the first story of Series 1, is written by Gareth Roberts and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony and Alexander Armstrong. So after Invasion of the Bane, we get 10 episodes and Season 1 consisted of 5 two-parter story and they're all 25 minutes each. It hasn't been like that since Survival, the last episode of classic Doctor Who series back in 1989. They also released novels for episodes, which they haven't done since Doctor Who, the novel of the film based off the 1996 movie. Phil Ford, the writer of Bad Girls and 2005 Captain Scarlet series, has wrote 2 stories. Phil Gladwin wrote 1 and Russell T Davies was originally going to write 1 but he dropped out due to other commitments as he was the showrunner of Doctor Who at the time, so it's understandable. This story reintroduces Slitheen as they first appeared in Doctor Who, Aliens of London, World War III and then Boomtown back in Series 1, which I think it's great because I like the Slitheen.
We are the Slitheen.
So it begins with Maria Jackson reintroduce herself. She moves into Bannerman Road with her dad after both her parents got divorced. She also mentions Sarah Jane Smith investigating aliens and Luke Smith created by the Bane, and Sarah adopted him. Maria and Luke went to a new school, Park Vale Comprehensive. So after Sarah Jane kisses Luke on the cheek in front of laughing students, they noticed a school is well upgraded because it's brand new. Meanwhile, head teacher sees a teacher called Tim Jeffrey, so he got him to stand where the secret passage is. It's a funny moment when he asked any particular reason and he thought the farting was a reason. And yes, it does happen to us all. I do like fart jokes. They're just funny. So then we see a familiar green arm with claws slashing Mr. Jeffrey. If that was Torchwood, we'd obviously see what's left of him, and that would explain more. But because it's obviously a kids show, they cut to the scene where the headmaster is like, ooh. I do love Daniel Anthony as Clyde Langer. Apart from Sarah Jane, he's my favourite main character of the show. He's so funny, likeable, and I really love the jokes he throws away. He's like Owen Harper in the show except a clean version, and to be honest, I think all the actors playing the main characters are likeable. And of course during the headmaster's speech he farts and the whole students laugh. I don't remember any of my teachers' farts back when I was in school, unfortunately. If it happened, that would be really funny. At the canteen, Maria and Clyde discovers that the food in the canteen is disgustingly mouldy. They realise something is going on, plus they notice a strange smell like batteries. I think this is well written about the mysteries on there's something not right about the school and the teachers, and they turn out to be Slitheen. Especially for those who hasn't seen Doctor Who. I also think Martin Ellis and Ian Mullane, who played Greg Blakeman, and Tim Jeffrey Slitheen are outstanding. Well casting. I liked the relationship between Maria and her dad Alan. The way they banter with each other, I definitely would buy that they're father and daughter. And same with Luke and Sarah Jane as mother and son, when he explains to her the mistake he's made. So Maria's mum, Chrissy, visits to see Maria. Alan was shocked when she forgot about Maria's first day at school. She seems to be a parent that you'd love to dislike when she hasn't been nice to Alan. Plus she does have funny lines with all the domestics and that. The Slitheens caused the whole power cut, but it's not an ordinary power cut. Even the fire on candles go out and Sarah Jane's scanner is dead when it actually can't lose power. Slitheen, just like Margaret in Boomtown, are planning to destroy the Earth to get back to Raxacoricofallapatorius. They realise the stabiliser isn't working, so they turn the power back on. Next day, Sarah Jane goes investigating. During science, Luke shows his intelligence, and Mr. Jeffrey also noticed Clyde as a troublemaker when he said he's not with him. I love it when he said, cool, after Mr. Jeffrey said, troublemaker, noted, but then caught Clyde eating cold chip sandwich, which he made so he can avoid the canteen. As a result, Mr. Jeffrey threw it away in the vivarium tank. I think I'd do the same on how Clyde reacted, tell the teacher that he can't do that and report them. So during lunchtime science club, Mr. Jeffrey tricks Luke to solve their calculation problem so they can destroy the Earth. So while Clyde is asking Luke questions to find out who he is, Sarah Jane sits in the office with Janine, who's a company secretary. I think Imogen Bane is so good. She's terrifying when she looked at Sarah Jane at the CCTV and was like, hello Miss Smith, and laughs. That's really scary. And also when she threateningly advised her to leave but then unzipped her head while laughing. So Maria hid under the computer desk and Mr. Jeffrey unzipped himself as well.
Slitheen!
So she ran into Clyde and they ran. I love the chase scene in the school, it's really intense and a bit of a Scooby-Doo style. The bit where Jeffrey Slitheen says, run as fast as you can, I'm coming to find you, and then roar.
I'm coming to find you!
It's really scary, and I wouldn't be surprised if kids got scared at that scene. While Luke is in the control room through the secret passage, Cole came and got Maria and Clyde hiding in the science lab, but it turns out he's a child Slitheen. I think Anton Thompson McCormick did really well too. Even the child Slitheen freaked me out, and he declares to hunt Clyde and Maria, which leads to cliffhanger.
I am a child of the Slitheen, and this is my hunt!
And part 2, Sarah sprays her perfume at Janine's Slitheen, so everyone out of school and into her car and drove off. Sarah Jane is really unhappy when she sees Clyde's the fact that there's another person's life at her hands. So Blakeman was like, Sarah Jane has got lipstick, so nah, she can't do much worse. I mean, what's the worst thing she can do? When Maria advised Clyde to go home and forget this happened, he refuses and joins the team in the attic. And to be fair, no one would believe him if he goes around telling people. So while they're talking to Mr. Smith, the talking computer, and working out the Slitheen's plan and ways to stop them, Clyde is mind blown what he sees in the attic. And I just love when he throws away his random silly advices. But at least he got there in the end after when the power is down, the sun gone blue, as he mentioned back at science when Mr. Jeffrey seemed scared when he picked Clyde's lunch. It couldn't be bread and butter because Sarah Jane saw Janine eating a sandwich. And it couldn't be salt either because white bread and butter have salt. So the weakness, vinegar, as the Slitheen is made of calcium and acetic acid, reacts to it. When Sarah Jane found out the Slitheen, I really loved when she mentioned that she remembered Rose saying Slitheen 10 Downing Street. I love the line when Clyde says, what, the four of us with vinegar and plastic squeezies? While Chrissy went to Maria's house asking Alan where Maria is, The gang went back to school, the Slitheen detected them, and Maria couldn't believe that she'd blown the headmaster up after she poured the vinegar on him and exploded.
Oops.
Sarah Jane and Luke went into the control room. The army of Slitheen explained to them that they wanted revenge because few Slitheen family have already died in 10 Downing Street. Luke tells the machine won't able to hold the sun's power so he can fix it and got his chance and the power is restored. In the end, the other Slitheen escaped except 3 of them. Janine got exploded, so did Mr. Jeffrey, while he's stuck in the door being electrocuted with his son. His son got away. Sarah Jane felt really regretful the fact that Slitheen is only 12, so she phoned Unit to get the place cleaned up. Chrissy thinks she's cursed because when she's around, things happen like people getting possessed, saying drink it, Bubble Shock Factory blows up, and the sun turning blue. Clyde is part of the gang, of course. You can't find out about stuff without questions. Remember what Sarah Jane was like in the Time Warrior before she's aware of the aliens. She tells Clyde the stories about her travels with the Doctor and she lets Luke call her mum. So yeah, I love Revenge of the Slitheen. In fact, it's my favourite Sarah Jane Adventures story. It's fun, well written. When it comes to mysteries, I think it's great setup for more episodes. What do you think, guys, of Revenge of the Slitheen? Drop it down in the comments below. Next episode to talk about is Eye of the Gorgon. The Sarah Jane Adventures Eye of the Gorgon, the second story of Series 1, is written by Phil Ford and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony and Alexander Armstrong. So the first part begins at Lavender Lawns, the local nursing home. A mysterious nun who appeared and disappeared, which woke Mrs. Randall and freaked her out. I think Doreen Mantle is great in this. Edith Randall, before she was a resident of Lavender Lawns, she lived next to Clyde's grandmother. Back in 1951, she won the title of Miss Elan. Because she didn't want to leave the house, her children Mark and Jenny argued because they're worried about her, so she gave up and decided to move Lavender Lawns. So Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde visit to her to ask her about the mysterious nun. It's really terrifying, especially when you get stories in films like these. So Chrissy decides to move back into Alan's house because her boyfriend Ivan spent too much time in the office. So Carlos, a salsa teacher, taught Chrissy how to dance. When Ivan found out about it, he has a fight with Carlos, so Chrissy was having none of it. Maria was pleased to see her mum back, but not for long because she says horrible things about Sarah Jane and Luke. I understand if you want to protect their daughter, but keeping away is because they're weird is horrible. And I can understand why Maria was upset and ran off. Sadly, her anger took it on Alan as well. So while Luke sees an old lady called B. Nelson Stanley who lives in Lavender Lawns as well, she often thought of her dead husband and suffered from Alzheimer's disease. She decided to give Luke Talisman, a necklace that was used by the Gorgons, and apparently it's a portal key in space and time. B wanted Luke to promise her not to tell anyone about Talisman, and because of her condition, she couldn't explain. And yet the Order of the Nuns were hiding the ancient creature, the Gorgon, the intelligent parasitic beings that possessed their hosts around 1000 BC. 3 Gorgons arrived Earth with Talisman. One of them was killed by a Greek hero, another by B and her husband, Professor Nelson Stanley, in 1959. The third, also known as the Abbess, managed to survive and possess the body of an abbess and led the Sisterhood of Nuns at St. Agnes Abbey, manipulating the nuns' minds to serve it. So Clyde was disappointed the fact the old people wanted Sarah Jane doing chores like moving items on top shelf and stuff. In the bit where Mrs. Gribbins and a nun behind the tree watching Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde leaving with the scary music is really suspense. I think Sarah Crowden as Mrs. Gribbins, who's in charge of Lavender Lawns, did so well playing the character. At the attic, after Sarah Jane asks Mr. Smith about the ghost in Lavender Lawns, Mr. Smith revealed that Luke has brought an alien device. So Sarah Jane confronted him and he explained that he had to keep it a secret. The way Alan speaks to Chrissy about leaving him and Maria then showing up, it is understandable. Every action has a consequences. So after Mrs. Gribbins tells Sister Helena that Luke and Clyde has got the talisman given by B, She gets sent to a room where Abyss is and gets turned into a stone. Funny enough, Medusa was one of the 3 Gorgons that arrived on Earth during humanity's early history, and the Doctor and Zoe once met Medusa in the land of fiction in the episode The Mind Robber. We found out Bee's husband once met the Centaurans and thought they're silly, and yes, Sarah Jane has met one twice before in the Time Warrior and the Centauran Experiment, which shows that Bee has knowledge about alien life. I think Beth Goddard as Sister Helena is great, as she arrived at Sarah Jane's house asking about the talisman, but then Alan came and thought she's an ordinary nun, so he donates their cause, asking Clyde and Luke if they see Maria tell her that he's looking for her, then left. Bea tells Sarah Jane and Maria that the nuns mustn't find the talisman because they protect the Gorgon. While they looked at books of 3 Gorgons, Luke gets dragged by Helena into the hearse and drove off to St. Agnes Abbey.
The talisman is dangerous. More than you can imagine.
No way!
Sadly, Clyde couldn't stop them, so he phoned Sarah Jane on what happened, so they arrived at St. Agnes Abbey. Sarah pretended to be someone else to go in and gets locked up in the library. At least Luke reunites with Sarah Jane. The scene where Clyde and Maria found Mrs. Gribbins as a statue and the abbess appearing is really scary. While Clyde and Luke stays at St. Agnes Abbey, Sarah Jane and Maria gets taken to Bannerman Road, so Sarah had to pick up Talisman. Eleanor explains to Maria that Abbess doesn't need to speak. While she's guessing that she's like telepathic, Sarah Jane uses her sonic lipstick on Talisman, asking them to let Luke and Clyde go or she'll destroy it. But Abbess unveiled herself, so while Sarah Jane and Maria looked away, Eleanor snatched the talisman off her, but then Alan walks in and he got turned into a stone, which left Maria terrified. So the nuns and the Gorgons left, and I can understand how Maria felt when she's saying it's Sarah Jane's fault and wishing that she never met her and the aliens. It's heartbreaking to watch, and the acting is well done. Eye of the Gorgon Part 2 is actually the very first Sarah Jane Adventures episode I've seen in my life, and for some reason I didn't watch it on live, unfortunately. When I first watched it, it was after Doctor Who Series 4, because I recognised Luke and Mr. Smith, but I didn't know Maria and Clyde at the time. I was only 9 or 10, and I remembered not liking it at first, but then I'm like, Sam, it's a Sarah Jane spin-off. You can't expect the Doctor to appear in every episode. So then I appreciated it, and then I absolutely loved it. So Luke looks at the book for history lesson, and Clyde has no idea what he's doing until he managed to open the secret passage. I like the chemistry between Luke and Clyde. You can tell they're best friends. In the scene where the nuns surrounded Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde saying serve the Gorgon is quite intense, because you have no idea what they're going to do. It's also scary seeing few statues of people in the garden. So while Chrissy sees Alan's statue, Sarah Jane gets taken to Abbess. The nuns try to open the portal for Gorgon. When she's about to get turned into a stone, Maria came in time to use Bee's mirror to backfire Abbess' power and finally got turned into a stone. When I first saw that scene, that statue of Abbess reminds me of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. So Maria uses Talisman to turn Alan back to normal. It's really funny when he said he must have dozed off in Sarah Jane's garden. Poor Chrissy, who mentions that she saw a statue of Alan, but they're all like, we don't know what you're talking about. So in the end, Chrissy gets back with her boyfriend Ivan. Maria returns Talisman to Bea, and she hears her husband's voice and gave her peace. So yeah, I really enjoyed Eye of the Gorgon. What do you guys think of this story? Did you watch it on live? Feel free to drop it down in the comments below. The Sarah Jane Adventures Warriors of Kudlak, the third story of Series 1. It's written by Phil Gladwin and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony and Alexander Armstrong. So yeah, it begins with a cool looking street and a poster that looks like classic Nick Fury. The boy called Lance Metcalf is playing a Quasar Laser in Combat 3000. I really loved playing Quasar Laser. I played it once on my 16th birthday. It was a blast. He was one of the first kids that's gone missing, and apparently his father was a British army soldier and he got killed during Iraq War. When Luke nicknamed him as the Corporal, He didn't realise this, he got upset, which is heartbreaking. Luke does struggle to make good jokes, which I know the feeling. I can't make good jokes. I'm terrible. So our hero gang went to see Lance's friend Brandon, who points out that Lance is on high score. And apparently he was supposed to meet him in the park and go to the arcade and didn't show up. So Sarah Jane and Maria discovers a storm on Mr. Smith's scanner, which appears to be Combat 3000.
Taken on Saturday at 16:04 hours.
So they go to investigate in Mr. Grantham's office, and so Mr. Grantham came in. I like the line where Sarah Jane tells him that Maria is her work experience. Maria was like, either that or putting up scaffolding. So Sarah Jane questions Mr. Grantham about Lance going missing in the quasar laser. It's nicely done when Sarah Jane used her sonic lipstick on Mr. Grantham's earpiece and then ran off. While Clyde is teaching Luke how to be a normal kid and jokes, they go to Combat 5000 and play shooting game. So they get moved to high level because they're so good at it. When they're in the chamber, they realise something is wrong. Duke Siptane as Mr. Grantham is fantastic. Apparently he was going to return in Mad Woman in Attic, be the one who kidnaps Eve, but no idea why that idea was dropped. Plus he later played Tarak Ital in Doctor Who Waters of Mars. Mark Grantham is a manager of Combat 3000. He's secretly friends with an alien called Yuvlevad Kudlak, who's Uvodny, and he serves the mistress, who turns out to be Computer, and tricking Kudlak to kidnap kids from Combat 3000 to prepare for war. Funny enough, one of the Kudlak warriors appeared briefly in Doctor Who The Pandorica Opens, which is a nice Easter egg. Also, both Maria's parents, Alan and Chrissy, aren't in this both episodes, but Alan does get mentioned. So in the end of part 1, Luke and Clyde gets teleported to spaceship. Maria and Sarah Jane are confronted by Kudlak.
Where have you sent them? Where?
Into darkness.
So in part 2, Sarah Jane and Maria attacked Kudlak and got away. I love the running scene, and he was terrifying when he strangled Mr. Grantham. So Sarah Jane asks Mr. Smith to scan Kudlak. You could sort of see the same devil from Doctor Who The Satan Pit, which is cool. They also showed that in Revenge of the Slitheen. So Mr. Grantham broke in, points a gun at Sarah Jane, then Maria picks the machine up and electrocute Mr. Grantham. At least she didn't kill them. So they get Mr. Grantham to help them get to the spaceship so they can rescue Clyde, Luke and other kids. I like the moment where Sarah Jane and Maria looks out the window and sees Earth, as Sarah Jane hasn't seen Earth from space in a long time. So after Clyde advised Luke not to throw up in Trophy, they get taken into a crate by the guards. I love the sets and the prosthetics, I thought they're cool design. So Clyde's managed to break himself and Luke out of the crate. They managed to get the girl called Jen out of there, Lance and everyone else. I love the scene where Luke uses Clyde's phone to hack and open the doors, and running away from guards. I thought it was a cool scene. So Kudlak takes the kids to the Empress.
Back in the arena, we were playing.
And what is play if it is not a preparation for life?
Look, fight your own war.
Then Sarah Jane and Maria arrived before Kudlak killed anyone. Luke tells him that the video he discovered is a 10-year-old message from the Emperor, and the mistress buried it because apparently without war they're not needed. So when the truth was revealed, Kudlak with his anger destroyed the mistress's computer and he set everyone free. He asked Sarah Jane to kill him, but Sarah Jane refused because killing someone is never the answer.
Taking life is never the answer, General Kudlak. Whether we've been wronged by one man or a whole planet.
And I actually do feel sorry for that Kudlak. So he promises to reunite the surviving recruits with their families. I think it's a great ending for Kudlak. In the end, Mr. Grantham escapes, but Sarah Jane's like, he'll get what's coming to him eventually. Jen kisses Luke for saving their lives, which is nice, and he's confused because he's never had romance in his life before. And I love it when he asks Clyde the advices about girls, and he's like, oh man. So I think it's a fun and cool episode. I love to hear what you guys think of this episode, Warriors of Kudlak. The Sarah Jane Adventures, Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane, the fourth story of Series 1, is written by Gareth Roberts and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony and Alexander Armstrong. So yeah, it's the introduction of a recurring villain called the Trickster and his minions, who appear in Doctor Who as Time Beetle in Turn Left, and Torchwood as Brainspawn in Immortal Sins. At skate park, apparently Luke and Clyde are bad at skateboarding, but Alan, Maria's dad, is so good in it. And I love the scenes where they were taking pictures of each other. It's a nice moment. When Maria takes a picture of Sarah Jane, there's a trickster lurking around. So in the attic, Sarah Jane gave Maria a puzzle box that was given by Varen Soothsayer, who she later mentioned that he gave her a warp star in Doctor Who Journey's End. He tells Sarah Jane to remember, and also told her to give it to someone she trusts the most. She didn't give it to Luke, Clyde, or even the Doctor, she gave it to Maria. So then when she went home, she took time to figure out how to open it, and then the trickster was outside of Sarah Jane's house. He uses his hand and the light came off. The next day, after Maria had her breakfast, Alan mentions someone called Andrea, so Maria thinks he was joking, so he visits to 13 Bannerman Road at Sarah Jane's house. But it turns out there's a strange woman who answered the door called Andrea Yates, played by Jane Asher. For some reason, Luke and Sarah Jane aren't there. Andrea lives in that house instead, which we obviously find out how. Even Maria looks around the house and there's furniture and decorations were different. Even the attic is as well. So apparently Alan doesn't even know who Sarah Jane is. He thinks she's unwell or something. Clyde barely knew Maria. He doesn't know who Sarah Jane or Luke is and thinking Maria is insane. Apparently that puzzle box protected Maria, which is why she's the only one who remembers Sarah Jane. So Maria takes her dad to the library to search up and what happened in the news in 13th of July 1964. On a school trip, Sarah Jane Smith died falling at the edge of West Post Pier. And we can see the names Andrea Yates and Sarah Jane Smith swapping. So Maria lied to her dad to tell him that she got it wrong, so then she went to see Andrea, asked about that day, and as a result, she threw Maria out. We find out that Andrea has a puzzle box that Maria has as well, given by the trickster. The day where she almost died and swapped places with Sarah Jane, what happened in the real timeline? It was Andrea Yates who fell from the edge of the West Post Pier, and Sarah Jane couldn't save her. Grask appeared and removed Maria from the existence, but Alan used the box to protect himself, so he's the only one who remembers Maria. And yeah, Chrissy thinks there's something wrong with him when she thinks that Alan claims that him and her had a daughter called Maria. Maria arrived in 1969 and she meets 13-year-old Sarah Jane and Andrea.
I was in London. I'm Maria Jackson.
Pleased to meet you, Maria. I'm Sarah Jane Smith.
I think Jay Asher's acting in this is brilliant when she gets angry and cries. I also think Jessica Ashworth and Francesca Miller as young Sarah Jane and Andrea were great as well. The trickster played by Paul Mark Davis is so terrifying, that is well done. In the second part, Maria tries to warn Sarah Jane, but Andrea thinks Maria is insane and Sarah Jane is being so nice to her, and Andrea drags Sarah Jane away. Grass came back and took Maria in a white foggy area called a limbo, and she reunites with the adult Sarah Jane. When she talks to the trickster, in an alternative where Sarah Jane isn't there, the Bane hasn't arrived on Earth, which is why Luke doesn't exist. He's also planning to remove the Doctor from the existence, and think how the universe will be without him.
In particular, the memories of this Doctor.
You leave him alone.
So Chrissy got frustrated for Alan making it up that they had a daughter, so then they went to Andrea's birthday party, and even Clyde was there, no idea how he met her. So Alan follows Andrea into the kitchen and questions her about Maria. So in the attic, Andrea explains the truth to Alan about the trickster, saving her and let Sarah Jane die and gave her the box. There is the news about meteorite hitting the earth, so Alan gets chased by a Grask, but then he tied him up and got Maria back with the snare gun. So back in the attic, Andrea speaks to Sarah Jane through the mirror. It's really a sad scene, the fact she has to die to set everything right.
And you're free!
But it's great to have Sarah Jane and Luke back, so she gets Mr. Smith to send meteorite elsewhere. And in the end, Alan finds out the truth about aliens, how his daughter got involved and Mr. Smith and that. Feel free to let me know what you guys think of this episode, part 1 and 2. The The Sarah Jane Adventures: A Lost Boy, the 5th story of Series 1, is written by Phil Ford and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Alexander Armstrong and John Leeson. So yeah, it starts with Maria explaining to her dad about the aliens and stuff. Because he cares about his daughter and doesn't want her in danger, he's planned to move house, which upsetted Maria. So when Sarah Jane, Luke and Maria explained to Alan the positive side about space and universe, he changed his mind, so at least that's that sorted. So on the BBC News report, there's a couple who's pretty devastated and claims that they're Luke's real parents, and his name is Ashley Stafford.
Isn't that Luke?
Any information regarding their missing son, Ashley. The teenager disappeared without trace.
Apparently Mr. Smith confirms that they're the same boy. And unsurprisingly, Chrissy called the police on Sarah Jane, so they turned up to her door, and Mr. and Mrs. Stafford arrived. Their acting is incredible when they're on the news feeling worried sick about their son, and Mrs. Stafford tries to fight with Sarah Jane even though they're actually Slitheen in disguise. Either way, the acting is stellar. Jay Simpson and Holly Atkins played it really well. So Luke got taken to Stafford's house. Apparently Ashley likes football and pepperoni pizza, so when he went to his room he gets locked up, and we'd be like, there's something not right here. So after Sarah Jane is free to go, Maria tries to support Sarah Jane, but she's devastated and took it on Maria and said that she and Clyde should forget about her and the aliens. At school, Clyde and Maria were guessing that Luke could be back at his school and thinking he might be a cool kid. So Clyde decided to skip lessons to visit the Stafford's house. Mrs. Stafford was pretty harsh to Clyde. She wouldn't let him see Luke, and she gave him the photo of Luke with the Stafford family with the birthday cake, so he phones Maria while she's in the middle of French lesson at school. Probably phoning in front of the classroom door where the teacher can easily see her may not be a good idea, but never mind. Clyde knew there's something wrong because you don't lose the ability to ride a skateboard, it's instincts. And of course photos can be faked. So he went to Sarah Jane's house and asked Mr. Smith to analyse, but it turns out that Mr. Smith was part of all this. He became a bad guy and zapped Clyde inside him. His laugh is scary. We find out that Mr. Smith is a Zylok, a crystalline race, and similar to Crotons. I thought it's a cool effects of the inside of Mr. Smith when Clyde sees a lot of numbers and letters and he types it in to let Alan know to warn Sarah Jane that Mr. Smith is a bad guy. Sarah Jane meets Professor Rivers, who's played by Floella Benjamin. I think she's great. Plus she voiced the U and PG age rating Warner Bros. Home video VHS warnings.
When you rent or buy a video, you need to know that the film you choose is suitable for the audience at home. This film has been classified U. That means it can be seen by people of all ages. Been classified PG. This stands for parental guidance and means that parents may wish to check the film before showing it to their children. Video certificates are there to give you the chance to make the right choice. Thanks for listening.
Which is pretty cool. So Sarah takes a look at people using those headsets, the power of telekinesis, in the Pharos Institute, a research centre, which is cool. They're developed by a boy genius called Nathan Goss, who seems to be really annoyed and hates Sarah Jane and Professor Rivers. I think Ryan Watson's acting is great. So yeah, Nathan Goss was really angry that Sarah Jane knows about the telekinesis, so he warns the Stafford family. While Luke tries to escape, Mr. Stafford drags him back in. So both Stafford family reveals that the Slitheen, and Nathan Goss is the child Slitheen, the same one who met Luke at school, who disguised as Carl.
Same Slitheen, different skin.
But yeah, this bit is really intense. Before Sarah Jane finds out Mr. Smith is a bad guy, Mr. Smith gets Sarah Jane to sneak back into Pharos Institute and steal a headset. She's pretty cool when she used sonic lipstick to flip the guy off his quad bike. Maria and Alan breaks into the Stafford's house. Alan finds the skin suit. Maria finds out that they're Slitheen, so she goes back to Sarah Jane to let her know. When they told Mr. Smith he got it wrong, his laugh, man, like I said, is scary.
They weren't Luke's parents, they're Slitheen.
Mr. Smith?
It's clever how Clyde types in his head to get Alan to warn Sarah Jane that Mr. Smith is bad. When he fires his gun and the way he laughs, it's funny and scary at the same time. So Luke gets taken to Farah's lab, but then makes a run for it, back to Sarah Jane's house. But Mr. Smith gets Luke to put a headset on because he wanted a boy genius to destroy the Earth. While Alan, Sarah Jane and Maria's plan to destroy Slitheen with vinegar from Chippy didn't go as planned.
Yes, well, we're not there, so where is he?
He got away. But that doesn't matter now.
Leave her alone.
I just love how Chrissy is like, it's the end of the world again. And I also love the bit where K9 appears and fights with Mr. Smith. I was like, yes! What an epic battle.
Take care, mistress, and you, young master.
So Mr. Smith gets switched off so he can reboot with new purpose. So in the end, somehow Chrissy seems to forgive Sarah Jane and everyone watches the ship leave, and Sarah Jane never thought she could be part of the family. It's a nice ending. I really love that story, part 1 especially, because the emotions handled well, it's well written, and the acting, it's either The Lost Boy or Revenge of the Slitheen to be my favourite SJA story. So, that's the end of Series 1. What did you guys think of The Lost Boy and also Sarah Jane Adventures Series 1? Did you enjoy them? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.